Hello everyone, very good morning.
So in today's session, I'm going to finish the chapter number 2, that is internal control. So in the previous session, I have just made a review of internal check system. I'm going to continue with that. So internal check as regards wages, because wage structure or the payment of wages is very important in case of internal check system. So under auditing, the payment of wages will be very crucial because majority of the errors and frauds can be identified in case of wage structure only. So internal check as regards wages. So need for effective internal check for wages. It is required in every manufacturing concern where a large number of workers are employed and huge amounts are spent on wages. There are greater chances of errors and frauds regarding wages. The following are some of the examples of errors and frauds regarding wages. First one, the time records may be incorrect and as a result, the workers get wages for the time which they have not worked. To take the example, the workers worked for 8 hours but they are paying for 12 hours because the time records are incorrect. Second one, the piecework cards may be incorrect and as a result the workers get wages for the work which they have not done. Sometimes what happens, the work to be divided equally, but because of the misappropriate piecework cards, the workers get more wages as compared to their working style or the work finished. The rate of wages may be overstated. Sometimes what happens, the wage structure may be, for example, 1000 per day. By mistakenly they have recorded 1100 per day. The rates may be overstated also. The hours of work may be overstated. If we take the example of large scale 100 workers are there, each worker will be assigned with 8 hours of work, but some workers will take the half day leave, some workers will do the overtime. So that time the hours of work will be clearly written in the books of accounts. Sometimes what happens, you take the example, X has worked for 8 hours, but by mistakenly it has been recorded that he has worked for 12 hours. That means hours of work may be overstated, so it will be a error or the fraud also. So there may be clerical errors in the preparation of wage sheets or payrolls. Payroll means it's a arrangement of workers list with their wages. It will be considered as payroll or wage sheet. Sometimes what happens, Mr. Harish to be paid with 5000, by mistakenly they have written 500, or sometime 500 in place of 500 they used to write 1000 rupees. Clerical mistakes can be avoided. There may be fraudulent overcasting of wage sheets. Sometimes what happens, same name of the worker will be recorded twice. That means he will be paid twice, wages paid twice for the same worker. So it will be fraudulent overcasting of wage sheets. There may be inclusion of dummy, ghost or fictitious worker in the wage sheets. You take the example that 50 workers are there, but in wage sheet it's showing that 60 workers are there. That means 10 workers are dummy or ghost or fictitious. That is created by the wage sheet prepared man. And the last one, conversion or misappropriation of unpaid wages. Sometimes what happens, the worker will work but he will not take the wages, So it will be considered as unpaid wages. But what happens, the clerical makes that the wages has been paid to that worker, but worker has not taken the wages. Conversion or misappropriation of unpaid wages. So these errors and frauds to be avoided if there is a sound internal check system in a company. So next, objectives of the system of internal check regarding wages. The objectives to be followed. The system of internal check regarding wages should be designed with the following objectives: to ensure the correctness of time cards and piece work cards. So time card and piece work card to be perfect and correct so that the internal check system regarding wages will be successful. Second one, to ensure the correctness of wage sheets. As I mentioned in the previous slide, how the wage sheet will be prepared with fraud nature, dummy worker's name will be added in the wage sheet. So that will be improper. So correct wage sheet to be prepared by the clerical staff. To avoid the inclusion of dummy workers in the wage sheet. As I mentioned, dummy workers to be totally avoided. How many workers are there? How many workers are present in that day? So on the basis of that, wage sheet to be prepared. To ensure correct payment of wages for the right work to the right workers. So what is the work has been completed by the worker, and what is the wage rate for that completed work, and who has done the work. For that person only the payment of wages to be done. So these are the four objectives to be followed for the successful system of internal check regarding wages. Next, guidelines for devising the system of internal check regarding wages. So first one, general guidelines. So general guidelines like the appointment or dismissal of workers, fixation of wage rates, that should be in writing, separate personal records to be maintained for each worker for his service, the wages office to be established, the order of copies to be properly provided to the wage office, so that what is the wage rate and how many workers are there, how much wage payment to be done in a day. So these are the general guidelines. Second one, guidelines for the maintenance of wage records. So under maintenance of wage records, the time records must be maintained for each worker. So whatever may be the method of wage payment, it may be cash payment or check payment, but time record of the wage worker to be properly maintained. Sometimes metal tokens will be used to each worker so that in a entry gate or the factory gate, time board is maintained for his entry. For that, time record can be properly identified. What is the entry time? What is the exit time? On the basis of that, his time records or time card can be prepared for each worker. Okay, nowadays biometrics will be followed in a wage structure, so that whenever the thumb impression of the worker is given by the worker in the entry gate, that time the entry timing will be filled in the computer, or the computer automatically takes the entry time of that worker, as well as whenever he goes out he has to again make a thumb impression, so that this is the exit time of that worker. So from that system, one worker time card can be prepared and how many hours he has spent in a factory. On the basis of that, how many wages to be paid for that worker. So that can be done. So these are the guidelines to be followed under maintenance of wage records. Third one, guidelines for the preparation of wage sheets. There should be separate office or the section in case of preparation of wage sheets. So which is comes under accounting department, because accounting department are the control authority for preparation of wage sheets and what is the actual payment to be made to the worker. So in case of large concern, it is advisable to use the loose wages sheets so that work of preparation of wage sheets can be distributed among the number of clerk in an wages. You take the example, it's a large scale, 2000 workers are there, one sheet is not enough to prepare, one wage sheet is not enough to prepare the daily wage rate or the daily wage payment. So that time 100 workers may be appointed for preparation of wage sheet so that it will be proper internal check system regarding wages. Next one, guidelines for payment of wages. The payment of wages should be entrusted to the cashier who has not been associated with the preparation of wage sheet. The person who prepares the wage sheet cannot be a cashier. So cashier will be a separate person. He will not know or not know having the relation with the person who is preparing the wage sheet. It should be seen that clerks who are associated with the preparation of wage sheets are not allowed to entry in the section of cashier or the payment section, because it will create the fraud or errors in the books of accounts. So after getting the wage sheets from the wage office, the cashier should withdraw the necessary sum which are required for the payment of wages to the workers. After the money has been withdrawn from the bank, the amount payable as net wages to each of the workers should be kept in separate envelopes called paychecks or pay packets, we call it as. All workers who are receiving wages should be asked to be present personally at the time of payment of wages to receive their wages. Each individual is responsible or to be available at the payment of wages section. No person is admissible to collect the wages of another party or his friend wages. The foreman of each department should also be asked to be present at the time of payment of wages to identify the workers and to prevent the impersonation for workers who are absent. As I mentioned, if the worker is absent for second half, first half he has presented but he has taken the half day leave, then his wage payment will be done on next day personally. His wage payment cannot be given to another person. He may be friend, he may be relative, he may be a family member, but it cannot be done in the wage structure. The payment of wages should be made in the presence of work manager. So work manager to be present when the pay packets were given to the worker. So it is desirable that director or senior official of the concern attends the wage payment at irregular intervals. So irregular intervals, the senior officer to be inspect so that it is proper or not, it is perfect or not. If there is any collusion, he has to participate in that collusion and he has to remove that collusion in a proper way. So any wages unclaimed after a reasonable period should be rebanked. If there is a large sum after the payment of wages to every worker who is present at the wage payment section, if it is large amount, that large amount to be deposited in the bank on the next day or the same day if the time is sufficient for the deposit. So these are the guidelines to be followed in case of the system of internal check regarding wages. So next one, internal check regarding as regards stores. Need for effective internal check for stores also. So stores are vulnerable to pilferage, theft, waste, misuse, etc., particularly in large industrial concerns which are large stores. So there must be a proper system of internal check for stores also if it is a large scale industry. So guidelines for internal check for stores. So general guidelines. A store should be located at a convenient place. The store should be have proper storage facilities so that goods may be properly stored, not be misplaced, wasted or stolen. The purchasing function or the storekeeping function should be separated. Purchasing of goods to be done separately and storing of goods to be done separately, because if it is in same place it will create the confusion. The system of code numbers should be established for stores. If there are different variety of goods are purchased, then different types of stores are required for the stores storage. Then coding system will be followed on the package so that after purchasing it can be shifted to the stores on the basis of the product code. There should be independent checking of stores by a responsible person. He can cross check the product code which are transported from purchasing section to the storage section. So entry into stores should be regulated by permits. No person is admissible to the storage section unless he is appointed by the authority. Second one, guidelines for receipt of stores. On the arrival of the stores should be properly checked and accepted by the stores department or the storekeeper. The issue of stores must from the storeroom or any department should be made only against the formal material or requisition slip from the purchasing section to the storage section. And after transporting from purchasing section to storage section, the storekeeper has to issue a slip to the person who is transported the goods from one place to another so that he can verify the goods which are transported to the storekeeper. Next, after receiving the recording the issue of materials, bin card to be prepared. Sometimes job card will be prepared to each individual so that he can finish the work in an stipulated time. So next one, guidelines for preservation of stores. There should be separate place earmarked for each type of stores, and stores should be properly kept in their respective places, bins or racks. So sometimes racks will be used for storage, sometimes bins will be or the cans will be used for the storage. And it will be cross checked and how many bins are required, how many racks are required. So this will be depends on the person who is appointed as a storekeeper. Next, guidelines for the recording of stores, that is maintenance of store records. there should be separate bin card for each type of stores kept in storeroom. The bin card should be hung on the respective bins so that it will be very easy to identify which type of goods will be stored in the bin. So besides the bin card maintains in the storeroom, there should be a storage ledger to be maintained by the storekeeper so that he can cross verify how many types of bins are there, how many types of bin cards are prepared, and how many types of goods are stored. So he can cross verify the store there. And it is necessary to ensure that storekeeper who is in charge of store and maintenance of bin cards has no access to the store ledger in the accounts department. So whatever the store ledger entries are there, that will be unaware with the storekeeper, because store ledger will be prepared by the separate person who has given or appointed as a store ledger keeper. So these are the guidelines to be followed in case of internal check for stores. So, so these are the concepts comes under internal check system. If there are any doubts regarding any concept, kindly text me in WhatsApp. So I'm going to wind up the chapter number 2, that is internal control. It is a small chapter. I've covered all the concepts which are important for the examination point of view. Thank you.